the lights dimmed in the sprawling Los Angeles studio, and for a moment, the only sound was the collective intake of breath from 300 audience members. Then the music swelled, dramatic, pulsing, designed to make hearts race, and the stage erupted in a cascade of golden spotlights that danced across sequined backdrops like scattered diamonds. "Ladies and gentlemen," the host's voice boomed with practiced showmanship, "tonight we have something truly special. A surprise that will make this evening unforgettable." He paused, letting anticipation build until it was almost unbearable. "Please welcome our mystery celebrity contestant, Meghan Markle." Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The revelation hit the audience like a thunderclap. Some leaped to their feet immediately, their cheers mixing with gasps of genuine shock. Others remained frozen in their seats, phones already emerging despite the strict no-recording policy, faces cycling through expressions of delight, skepticism, and hungry curiosity. Meghan appeared at the top of the grand staircase, and for a moment, she was everything the producers had dreamed of: radiant, poised, wearing a flowing gown that caught the light with every calculated step. Her smile was wide and warm, the same expression that had graced magazine covers and royal walkabouts, but those watching closely might have noticed the slight tension in her shoulders, the way her free hand clenched and released at her side. The applause was thunderous, but uneven. In the front rows, fans held up hastily made signs reading, "Our Duchess," and "Welcome back, Meghan." But scattered throughout the audience were pockets of uncomfortable silence, arms crossed, expressions guarded. The divide was palpable, electric, exactly the kind of cultural flashpoint that would make for compelling television. "This is incredible," Meghan called out, her voice carrying that practiced blend of gratitude and authority that had become her signature. "I can't tell you how excited I am to be here, to try something completely new, to show you all a different side of who I am." At the base of the stairs, her professional dance partner waited, tall, athletic, with the kind of reassuring smile that had calmed countless nervous celebrities before their debuts. As she reached him, he took her hand with professional warmth. "You've got this," he whispered, his voice barely audible above the continuing applause. "Just remember what we practiced. Feel the music. Everything else is just noise." She squeezed his hand, drawing strength from his confidence. "Thank you. I need this to be perfect." "It doesn't need to be perfect," he replied, his expression gentle but knowing. "It just needs to be real." The host approached with his microphone, his decades of experience evident in the way he commanded the space. "Meghan, what made you decide to take on this challenge? Dancing with the Stars is quite different from your usual appearances." "You know, after everything I've been through, I realized I wanted to do something that was purely about joy," she said, her voice steady despite the weight of unspoken history. "Dance is honest. It's vulnerable. It's everything I want to be more of in my life." The audience murmured approvingly, but underneath the surface, something more complex was brewing. The cameras captured every angle, every expression, every subtle shift in energy that suggested this evening would be anything but routine. As the commercial break approached, Meghan stood in the golden spotlight, surrounded by glitter and possibility, unaware that in just minutes, her carefully crafted return to the spotlight would transform into something far more explosive than anyone could have anticipated. The music began slowly, sensually, the opening notes of a rumba that would either resurrect her public image or shatter it completely. Meghan moved into position, her partner's hand finding the small of her back with practiced precision. For a moment, the chaos of cameras and commentary faded away, leaving only the rhythm pulsing through the studio floor. She was graceful, undeniably so. Each step flowed into the next with the poise that years of royal protocol had drilled into her bones. The burgundy gown swirled around her legs like liquid fire, and when she arched backward in a dramatic dip, the audience released a collective sigh of appreciation. But then it happened, a slight miscalculation on a pivot, her heel catching just enough to throw off her balance. For a split second, Meghan faltered, her perfect composure cracking as her free arm shot out instinctively for stability. Her partner was there instantly, his strong frame compensating for her stumble so smoothly that many in the audience missed it entirely. But the cameras caught everything, and, more importantly, the judges saw it all. Bruno Rossi leaned forward in his chair, pen poised over his scorecard, a knowing smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. Meghan recovered beautifully, transforming the near fall into what looked like an intentional, dramatic flourish. Her smile never wavered, but those watching closely could see something shift behind her eyes. A flash of the old anxiety, the familiar fear of imperfection being weaponized against her. The music swelled to its crescendo, and she finished strong, her final pose holding just long enough for the applause to wash over her. The audience erupted, some genuinely moved by her vulnerability, others simply swept up in the spectacle. But as the clapping continued, 3 judges sat with their notepads ready, and somewhere in the digital ether, hashtags were already beginning to form. Hashtag Megandances, hashtag Royal Rumba, hashtag Doot Surprise. The real performance was about to begin. Bruno Rossi rose from his judge's chair with theatrical flair, his arms already gesturing wildly before he'd spoken a single word. The sequined jacket he wore caught the stage lights, making him sparkle almost as much as the performers he was about to dissect. Darling Meghan, he began, his accent rolling over each syllable like honey laced with venom. The audience leaned forward, sensing the electricity in his voice. You move like a duchess, yes, but where is the fire? Where is the soul? Meghan's smile remained frozen in place, but her partner could feel the subtle tension radiating through her body as she stood beside him, still catching her breath. The technique, it was lovely, very proper, very controlled, Bruno continued, his hands painting pictures in the air. But my dear, this is rumba. This is about passion, about letting the mask fall away. He paused dramatically, letting his words sink in. I'm afraid what I saw tonight was polished but hollow. Beautiful on the surface, but you're still wearing that royal mask, aren't you? The studio fell dead silent. Even the crew members stopped their rustling. Someone in the audience audibly gasped. The host, sensing dangerous territory, jumped in with forced joviality. Well, Bruno, I think she showed tremendous courage just being here tonight. Courage, yes, Bruno interrupted, his eyes never leaving Meghan's face. But courage to be vulnerable? To show us the real woman underneath all that polish? That I did not see. Meghan's smile finally cracked. For just a moment, her expression flickered between hurt and anger before she caught herself, forcing the diplomatic mask back into place. But it was too late. The cameras had captured that split second of raw emotion, and Bruno had seen it too. He sat back down, clearly pleased with the reaction he'd provoked, while Meghan stood frozen in the spotlight, wrestling with years of being told to smile through criticism, to accept judgment with grace, to never, ever let them see her break. The audience waited, the judges waited, America waited. Her move. Meghan took a slow breath, her media training kicking in like armor. When she spoke, her voice was measured, controlled, but those listening carefully could hear the tremor underneath. I appreciate your feedback, Bruno, she began, each word carefully chosen. But I have to respectfully disagree. What you call a mask, I call professionalism. What you call hollow, I call giving everything I had to that dance. The audience stirred, sensing the shift in energy. A few scattered claps broke out, quickly hushed. Bruno's eyebrows shot up with theatrical delight. Everything you had? My darling, if that was everything, then perhaps we need to dig deeper, yes? This is not a charity gala. This is about stripping away the pretense and showing us your beating heart. Strip away the pretense? Meghan's voice rose just a fraction, the careful composure beginning to fray. I've been stripped bare by the media for years, Bruno. Maybe what you're seeing isn't a mask. Maybe it's what's left after everyone's had their turn telling me who I should be. The host stepped forward quickly, his smile stretched tight. Let's remember, this is all about the dance, the artistry. No, Meghan interrupted, turning to face Bruno directly. Let's talk about what this is really about. Because apparently, my authenticity is still up for public debate. Quote. Bruno leaned back in his chair, practically purring with satisfaction. Now that, darling, is more like it. Prove it with your body next time, not with words. The first spark had ignited. The audience could feel it. Something dangerous was building in the glittering studio. The stern, veteran judge, silver-haired and dignified, cleared his throat with the authority of someone who had weathered decades of show business drama. His voice cut through the tension like a blade. "Now, Meghan," he said, his tone paternal but firm, "part of being a performer is learning to take criticism constructively. The judges are here to help you grow. Perhaps it would be wise to accept our feedback with grace and use it to improve for next week." The words hit Meghan like a physical blow. Her carefully maintained composure shattered completely. "Grace?" she interrupted, her voice rising above the studio's hush. "I'm tired of being told to stay quiet and take it with grace. I'm tired of smiling while people tear me apart and call it constructive." The audience gasped audibly. Several people sat forward in their seats, phones instinctively rising despite security. The host jumped in desperately. "Well, emotions certainly run high in competition." "This isn't about competition," Meghan snapped, turning to face the judge directly. "This is about the same pattern I've dealt with for years. Speak up and you're difficult. Defend yourself and you're not graceful enough. Well, I'm done performing grace for people who mistake silence for strength." Her dance partner's face went white with horror. Behind the cameras, producers exchanged frantic glances. The script had been obliterated. Live television had become a powder keg, and Meghan was holding the match. Bruno couldn't resist. He rose from his chair again, this time with predatory glee, his arms spread wide as if embracing the chaos he'd helped create. "Ah, but now I see fire!" he exclaimed, his voice carrying over the stunned audience. "Finally, some real emotion! But, my dear, you're proving my point exactly. This anger, this passion, where was it in the dance? You save your authenticity for arguments, not for art." Quote. Meghan whirled to face him fully, her gown swirling around her like a battle standard. "You want to talk about authenticity, Bruno? Let's talk about how you just spent 5 minutes attacking my character instead of critiquing my footwork. That's not judging, that's bullying dressed up as expertise." The studio erupted. Half the audience burst into applause and cheers, while others booed and shouted for her to calm down. The sound was deafening, chaotic, like a gladiatorial arena rather than a dance competition. Bruno fed off the energy, his eyes sparkling with theatrical malice. "Character is what shines through performance, darling. And what I see is someone so afraid of being real that she'd rather fight than dance." "Real?" Meghan's voice cracked with fury. "You want real? Here's real. I came here to do something joyful, something vulnerable, and within 5 minutes you turned it into the same character assassination I've been dealing with for years." The camera zoomed in hungrily, capturing every expression, every gesture, every raw moment of confrontation. The host stood frozen between them, his usual smooth interventions completely inadequate for this level of emotional warfare. "Ladies and gentlemen," he attempted weakly, but his words were lost in the roar of the divided crowd. Bruno stepped closer to his judge's table, leaning forward like a cat, playing with wounded prey. "Then perhaps, my dear Duchess, the problem isn't with the judges. Perhaps the problem is that you came here expecting a coronation, not a competition." The words hung in the air like a gauntlet thrown down. Meghan's face went through a series of expressions: shock, rage, and something that looked almost like recognition. The audience held its collective breath, sensing they were witnessing something far beyond entertainment. In the control booth, producers frantically debated cutting to commercial, but the ratings were spiking so high that greed overruled caution. The stage manager's hand signals were swift and decisive. "Keep rolling." The cameras stayed locked on the confrontation as social media exploded in real time. Meghan's dance partner stepped closer, his voice urgent and low. "Please, just breathe. Think about your image." "My image?" Meghan turned on him, eyes blazing. "My image has been destroyed and rebuilt by other people 100 times over. I'm done letting them control the narrative." "But this could ruin." "Ruin what?" she snapped. "My reputation." "They already did that." "My career?" "I'll build a new one." The world deserves the truth. And I'm done pretending that staying quiet protects anyone but the people who want me silenced. Behind the judges' table, crew members held up phones, capturing every moment for their own social feeds while the official cameras rolled on relentlessly. The studio audience transformed from spectators into participants, their reactions becoming part of the performance itself. Competing chants erupted across the room, "Let her speak," from one section, "Sit down," from another. The carefully orchestrated atmosphere of family-friendly entertainment dissolved into something raw and political. Bruno stood up again, arms spread wide, conducting the chaos like a maestro. "Yes, this is what I wanted to see. Real passion, real conflict. Please, everyone, let's maintain some decorum," the host pleaded, but his voice was swallowed by the noise. Meghan stepped forward, raising her voice above the din. "You want to know who I really am?" she shouted, her words carrying to every corner of the studio. "I'm someone who's tired of being told to smile while you tear me apart for your entertainment." The audience became a living mirror of the divided world outside, some on their feet cheering her defiance, others shaking their heads in disgust. Security guards appeared at the edges of the set, uncertain whether this was still television or something else entirely. Meghan looked out at the sea of faces and realized with startling clarity that she was no longer addressing the judges or even the studio audience. She was speaking directly to America, using this glittering stage as her battleground, finally saying everything she'd been forced to swallow for years. The spectacle had become something much more dangerous than entertainment. It had become truth. Within 3 minutes, the first clips appeared on Twitter. Someone in the audience had managed to film Bruno's coronation comment and Meghan's explosive response, uploading it with shaking hands and the caption, "Holy shit, this is happening live right now." The hashtags multiplied like wildfire. Hashtag Meghan meltdown. Hashtag DWTS drama. Hashtag Team Meghan. Hashtag Bruno vs Meghan. Cable news producers scrambled in control rooms across the country, cutting into regular programming with breaking news, royal confrontation live on Dancing with the Stars. Backstage, crew members stared at their phones in stunned fascination as the numbers climbed. 50,000 retweets in 5 minutes. 100,000. The view counts were astronomical, the comments sections war zones of competing narratives. "She's finally standing up for herself." Flooded social media alongside "complete meltdown." This is exactly what we expected. Bruno, checking his own phone between the chaos, couldn't hide his satisfaction.